ever just feel like, ugh, my banking app is out to get me?
Totally. Like it was designed by someone who's never actually used a bank before.
Right. Today, we're diving into this whole idea of user-centered design, or the lack thereof, when it comes to banking.
And we've got a really insightful piece from UXDA, the financial UX gurus.
They really are. This piece is called User-Driven Innovation versus Tech-Driven Innovation in Banking. And let me tell you, they do not hold back.
Yeah, they get right to the heart of the problem, which is that so many banks are prioritizing the latest tech over actually making their apps easy and enjoyable to use.
Which, okay, I get it, tech is important, but at the end of the day, I just want an app that doesn't make me want to pull my hair out.
Exactly. And UXDA makes a really interesting point about this. They say that banks are under so much pressure to innovate, to constantly be seen as being on the cutting edge.
Right, because investors love that tech hype.
They do. But that often comes at the expense of user experience.
Yeah.
And so we end up with these banking apps that are just crammed with features, most of which we never even use.
Ugh. It's like they think that adding more features automatically equals a better product. But it's like, have you ever tried to order food online and the website is so busy trying to upsell you on every single thing?
Oh, tell me about it. It's like, I just want a burger and fries. I don't need a side of existential dread with my order.
Right. And suddenly, ordering takeout feels like a part-time job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with banking apps, too. They're so busy trying to be everything to everyone that they end up being nothing to no one.
It's like they've forgotten that at the end of the day, it's about people, not just technology. And UXDA uses a brilliant analogy to illustrate this point.
Oh, yeah, they talk about Apple, right?
They do. And I know it sounds kind of random, like, what do iPhones have to do with my checking account? But trust me, it makes sense.
Okay.
Think back to 2007.
Oh, man, 2007. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Right. But back then, both Nokia and Apple had access to pretty similar technology for their phones.
Okay, yeah, feature phones were huge back then.
Exactly. But we all know who won that smartphone race. And it wasn't just because iPhones were sleek and shiny. It was because they just worked.
True. They were so intuitive to use, even my grandma could figure it out.
Exactly. And that's because Apple understood something that, frankly, a lot of banks today are still struggling with. Technology is just a tool.
Okay, I like that. Technology is a tool.
It is. What really matters is how that tool is used to simplify and improve the user's life.
So are you saying banks need to think more like Apple?
I think there's a lot banks can learn from Apple's approach to design, yeah.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, take Apple's new on-device AI, for instance.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
On-device AI, that's fascinating stuff. But for those of us who don't speak fluent tech, what exactly does that mean, and what does it have to do with banking?
Good question. So on-device AI basically means that instead of your data being sent to a far-off server for processing, Apple's AI works directly on your iPhone.
Huh, okay. So what does that actually mean for the user? Like, what's the benefit?
Well, for starters, it means faster response times.
That's always good. Nobody likes waiting.
Right. Plus, it means more privacy because your data isn't constantly being uploaded to who knows where.
Oh, okay, I see. That's a big deal these days with all the data privacy concerns.
Huge. And it also means you're less reliant on having a good internet connection to do what you need to do.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So is that how they make things like Apple Pay so seamless?
Exactly. They took something that could have been incredibly complex mobile payments and made it as simple as a single touch.
And that's what UXDA is saying banks need to do more of. It's not about bombarding us with a million features. It's about making those core functions so easy and intuitive that we don't even have to think about them.
Exactly. Imagine a banking app that just gets you. It anticipates your needs, it personalizes your experience, and it basically fades into the background so you can focus on what really matters. Managing your money without the stress.
Now, that's a banking experience I can get behind. But how do we get there? How do banks break free from this tech-driven trap and actually start designing products that people love to use?
That's the million-dollar question, and thankfully, UXDA has some answers. They outline 10 really practical strategies that banks can use to become more user-centric.
Okay, let's hear them. I'm ready for a banking revolution. So we're ready for this banking revolution, but UXDA says, hold your horses. There's some serious traps out there on the road to better banking apps.
Okay, like what kind of traps are we talking about?
Well, they talk about this thing they call a copycat feature trap. Basically, it's like when banks just try to copy each other's homework instead of, actually doing the work of figuring out what their users need.
Oh, I've totally seen that. It's like one bank adds a random new feature, and then suddenly every banking app looks like a carbon copy.
Exactly. It's like they're all so worried about keeping up with the Joneses that they forget to actually listen to their customers.
Which seems kind of backwards, right? You'd think banks, of all businesses, would be all about understanding what their customers want.
You would think so. And that brings us to another pitfall UXDA highlights:
Huh.
the lack of authenticity trap.
Okay, tell me more about that. What's so inauthentic about banking apps?
It goes back to those generic white label solutions we were talking about earlier.
Right, the cookie cutter apps that all look and feel the same.
Exactly. It's like going to a fancy restaurant only to realize they're serving you microwaved meals.
Ugh, talk about a letdown. And it makes sense why people wouldn't feel particularly loyal to a bank if it feels like every other banking app out there.
Exactly. There's no sense of connection, no sense of, wow, they really get me. And speaking of getting it right, UXDA keeps coming back to Apple as an example of a company that just nails the user experience, even with incredibly advanced technology.
And it's true, Apple products somehow manage to feel both incredibly sophisticated and ridiculously easy to use. It's like their technology just melts away so you can focus on what you actually want to do.
Exactly. And that ease of use makes a huge difference. When people enjoy using a product, they're more likely to use it more often, to explore all its features, and to recommend it to others.
Which is the opposite of how most of us feel about our banking apps, right? It's like we avoid logging in unless absolutely necessary.
And that's why a lot of banks struggle with customer retention. People just aren't that invested in the experience.
So how do we change that? How do we get people excited about managing their finances?
UXDA says it starts with a fundamental shift in mindset. Banks need to stop chasing the latest tech trends for the sake of it and start prioritizing the user's experience above all else.
Okay, user centricity. I love the sound of that. But what does it actually look like in practice?
It's about understanding your users so deeply that you can anticipate their needs and design solutions that feel tailor-made for them. It's about personalization that goes beyond just calling me by my name in a notification.
Okay, yeah, give me some examples. How do we make personalization actually meaningful?
Imagine a banking app that analyzes your spending habits and then gives you personalized tips on how to save more money each month.
Ooh, that'd be amazing. Or one that automatically invests your spare change based on your risk tolerance.
Exactly. It's about making people feel like their banking app is their own personal financial assistant, always looking out for their best interests. And when you can create that kind of personalized experience, people are far more likely to stick around.
It's about building trust and loyalty.
Exactly. And UXDA also talks about the importance of feedback loops. It's not enough to just ask for feedback. You have to actually act on it. Make people feel like their voices are being heard.
Right, because nobody wants to feel like they're shouting into the void. It's like, if you're not going to listen, why are you even asking?
Exactly. But when people see that their feedback is actually leading to tangible improvements, it builds a sense of trust and collaboration. It's
Yeah.
like you're all on the same team, working together to create the best banking experience possible.
And that's something that's often missing from the banking world, right? It feels very transactional, very one-sided.
For sure. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that brings us back to Apple. They're constantly gathering feedback, iterating on their products, and finding ways to make them even better.
And that's something banks can definitely learn from, this idea of constant improvement, of always striving to make the user experience even more delightful. It's not just about fixing what's broken, it's about proactively looking for opportunities to make things even better.
Yes. And that's what UXDA is advocating for, a shift from a reactive to a proactive approach to banking design.
So, besides simplicity, personalization, and feedback loops, what other gems did UXDA unearth in their quest for user-centric banking? All right, so we're talking about user-centric banking, and I'm ready to get specific. What are some of these game-changing strategies that UXDA lays out?
Well, they're not exactly game-changing, more like back to basics, really. Like, remember when banking used to be simple?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Less is more.
Exactly. UXDA's first strategy is all about simplicity. Get rid of the clutter, streamline the experience, make it so incredibly easy to use that it's practically foolproof.
I'm so on board with that. My brain can only handle so many options before it starts to short circuit.
And that's exactly the problem. Our banking apps are giving us option overload when, let's be honest, most of us just want to check our balance and pay a bill without needing a degree in computer science.
Seriously, it's like, just let me do my banking and get on with my life.
Right. And that's what simplicity is all about. It's about making banking less stressful, less time-consuming, and, dare I say, even enjoyable.
Okay, but hold on. My banking app is never going to be something I actually look forward to using, right?
Well, maybe not look forward to, but it doesn't have to be something you dread either. And that's where personalization comes in. UXDA's next big strategy is all about making our banking experiences feel tailor-made for us.
Okay, so how do we go beyond just sticking my name at the top of a screen? How do we make personalization actually useful?
It's about using all the data our banking apps are collecting about our spending habits to give us personalized advice, like maybe suggesting ways to save money, or even automatically investing our spare change based on our risk tolerance.
Okay, now that's the kind of personalization I can get behind. It's like having a personal finance guru in my pocket, but without the judgmental stares.
Exactly. It's about making us feel seen and understood, which builds trust and loyalty.
Speaking of trust, UXDA also talks about the importance of feedback loops.
Huge. They say banks need to get serious about not just gathering feedback, but actually acting on it.
Right, because what's the point of asking for my opinion if you're just going to ignore it?
Exactly. But when we see that our feedback is leading to real changes, it creates a sense of partnership, like we're all in this together.
And that's something most banks are sorely lacking, right?
Yeah.
That sense of collaboration.
For sure. It's like they're the experts and we're just along for the ride.
Okay, so we've got simplicity, personalization, feedback loops. What other user-centric nuggets of wisdom did UXDA dig up?
Oh, they've got a whole treasure chest of them. They talk about the importance of building emotional connections with users, creating a seamless experience across all channels. They even suggest using gamification to make banking more engaging.
Wait, hold up. Gamification. Are we talking about earning badges for paying my bills on time?
Hey, whatever works, right? But seriously, the point is that managing your finances doesn't have to feel like a chore. It can be fun, or at least not totally soul-crushing.
I think I can live with that. So what's the takeaway here? If banks want to win our hearts, our minds, and our money, what's the one thing they need to do?
It all boils down to this. They need to start putting the user first. It's not about chasing the latest tech trends or squeezing every last penny out of their customers. It's about building products and services that are designed to make our lives easier, less stressful, and maybe even a little bit more joyful.
Here, here. A user-driven banking revolution. That's something I think we can all get behind.
Huh.
And listeners, we want to hear from you. What's the one thing you wish your banking app would do? Head over to our website and let us know. Let's build the future of banking together, one user-centered feature at a time.